Hello everybody and welcome to this video. My name is Vince and today I'm going to share with you the top 3 things that I took away from the one-on-one call that I had with Alex Hormozi this summer. Alex was actually kind enough to give me 20 minutes of his time where I could really just, ask him whatever I wanted to, pick his brain. And I was very selfish with that time in terms of that I asked just a couple of very specific questions that were tailored to my exact situation. I still think it would be valuable for me to share some of the key things that I took away from it, since I know that a lot of you guys who are watching this are also in a similar boat to me in terms of you are, anywhere from 16 to maybe 22, 24 years old. You're very entrepreneurial. Maybe you even have some, something already going on in terms of your business. You're probably interested in some of the similar things that I'm interested in as well. So let's get straight into it. Number one key takeaway for me was that you need to figure out your why if your environment doesn't necessarily equip you with one. So at this point, I'm sure everybody heard about, having a why and why it's so important to have a why, because when you're going through hard things and building your business gets difficult, which it always will get difficult, trust me, no matter what you're doing, you need to have a strong reason, a compelling reason to keep going. And I kind of realized as I was talking with Alex about this that I didn't really have a really strong why that was given to me or forced on me by my environment. He told me that his why in the beginning was really that he just wanted to kind of like overtake his father's accomplishment and results, and that was really like a big key motivator of his. When you look at some of the most successful people in the world, a lot of them have a very strong, deep-rooted why, and whether that be that they are just trying to get out of a very bad situation, or they are more so pulled towards something great, it's a consistent pattern that
we've known each other for 10 minutes. So
yeah.
To me to tell you how motivated you are, it would be impossible. But as you're this is gonna sound crazy, but your brain hasn't even stopped developing yet. So your brain finishes development between 25 and 27. And a lot of that comes down to your ability to gauge consequences of decisions. And so there's a reason that rental cars, at least in the US, you have really high insurance after 20 up until 25 for cars. People still make stupid decisions, right? And so I see that as not understanding the trade-offs between short-term and long-term, right? And so the long-term, your perspective is on what you want to build. That thing has to excite you enough that it can pull you through the small in-betweens, right? If you really want to look a certain way, right, then you will continue to stick with your diet for an extended period of time. Right? If you want to look a certain way, you don't have the wherewithal to stick with it because long-term it's not motivating enough, that's okay. That's fine. You know what I mean? You're the one who's putting the arbitrary pressure on yourself to make more.
Yeah.
And so if you're well, I don't even know why I would want to make more other than to just make more, then maybe you need to figure that out. For me, my motivation was always, especially when I was your age, was I was trying to beat people. I was very much trying to beat everyone. Specifically, I was trying to, beat what I perceived to be my dad at the time. And so that was a very deep driver for me. So the money that came in was never the point. It was because I needed the number to say something about who I was as a man. And I wanted to have enough power and control that no one would have leverage over me. And so that was my driver. And so it's you just have to figure out what that drives. So think about it like this. What's something that doesn't exist that you think should exist that you want to dedicate 5 years to making real? If you can think, if I were 25 years old and this were my reality, that would be dope.
That was my number one key takeaway, that I needed to take some more time to really think about, what is something that I want to create in this world that doesn't exist yet, that is, important enough for me, to make it my why, kind of, and the reason why I do whatever I'm doing. Also, it's important that your why can evolve, because when I was just starting out my business, I had a clear why. I knew I wanted to make money so I have more freedom, and so I can travel and move out of my parents' place and buy some stuff for myself. But then once I got that, once I was making 10K a month, then after that point, that why that I initially had wasn't really serving me anymore and wasn't really enough. Number two key takeaway that I had from this conversation was that your brain doesn't fully develop until you're around 25. And one of the main, parts of the brain that is not fully developed is the ability to make long-term judgment. This was pretty profound because I didn't really think about this yet, because I am always pretty hard on myself for making the mistake of choosing short-term gratification instead of long-term delayed gratification. Whatever it is, like of not putting in enough work in one day, or not being consistent with it, or all that. To be honest, like I didn't really think about this yet, but your brain, like Alex says, and it's in a bunch of studies, like it doesn't even fully develop until you're 25. Basically, he said like that's one of the reasons why when you rent a car, the insurance is so much higher if you're under 25, because your brain is not even fully developed yet. You're not as good at kind of like weighing the weight of decisions. So a lot of people who are young, they will drink and drive and stuff like that because they don't fully gauge the consequence of their actions. The reason why I took this as a key takeaway from the conversation was just okay, once I can be aware of the fact that my brain doesn't fully know or isn't the best at understanding the long-term consequences of my decisions yet, I can actually pay attention to it and think twice before I would make a bad decision that's thinking short term instead of long term. Takeaway number 3 for me was what to do when business gets boring. And this is the question I asked Alex because it's something that I faced multiple times in the past, where I would start a new venture, start a new part of my business, and then I would make a lot of progress with it. And then, it gets boring after a little while. And then I would either stop doing it or shift my aim or shift my focus. And I was like, what's the solution for this, right? Like, what should I do?
Many people, not just entrepreneurs, enjoy solving new problems. So if you were to put people into 2 buckets, bucket number 1 is people who want to solve new and different problems every day. Bucket number 2 is people who want to take something that's existing and make it better. They want to improve things. There are very smart people who fall in either of those camps. What you get excited about, I would imagine, is solving new things, right? Fixing new problems, etc. Right? Or am I speaking out of turn there?
No, I think that's correct.
Okay. So when you're solving new problems, you get excited, you have energy, you're motivated, etc. And then when you start doing the same thing over and over again, you start to get bored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So once you master something enough that it's boring, then you outsource it. You just hire someone to do it at a more efficient price than you can do it for yourself. And you take the extra time and then you find new problems to solve. And then those problems that you're solving grow the business.
Makes sense.
Right. And then the second thing is to have the character traits of being able to focus and not think you're smarter than you are and hop from thing to thing to thing and just say I know that if I do this for 5 straight years and just continue to solve problems, and once I get bored of the problem that I've solved, hire someone to do it because I've gotten so good at it that I'm bored. So I'll be able to train someone to do it. And you just repeat that process over and over again. And that is the essence of entrepreneurship.
Okay. Awesome.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. It's normal to get bored.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if you do the same thing over and over again, it can get boring. But if someone, all they had to do is that one thing, then you want to find people who love making processes better. Which is I need you to do this outbound process, and I want you to get better and better and better at it. And I want you to take where I did and get it, take where I left off, which is 0 to 1, and go 1 to N, make it better and better. And then once you solve the problem of okay, now I've got appointments being scheduled on my calendar all day long, you're going to start getting, it's exciting to take all these sales calls. And then after a while, it'll start getting boring to take the sales calls because you're I know how the conversation goes. I'll say the same things over and over again. And once you get to that point, you hire someone to do a sale, right? Do the sales. And you're you know what? If I started marketing on another channel, or started relationships, or I started a referral program, or I started another product line, or I started whatever the thing is that is required to grow the business at that point, then you get to solve it. But either way, you keep trading up your skills, you get to learn new skills and trade off what you were doing for a higher value problem to solve. So we get paid for the problems that we solve, and how much we get paid depends on the value how hard it is and how much value is delivered to the person whose problem it is.
So that was a pretty cool insight for me. And, I already heard this from other people, but he really was able to phrase it and position it in a way, this idea, that I never really thought about yet. These are some of the key takeaways I had. So to sum it up again, the first one was you need to have a strong why if you want to, to get to 10K, 20K a month. Like, it can be enough of a why to just get out of a bad situation that you are in or that you are not happy with. That was my why in the beginning, and that I just wanted to prove to my teachers and my old classmates that I'm good at something, right? That was to a huge part out of insecurity, and that was enough of a why. But then once I got to that point, it was like, what's the point of pushing forward if I'm already comfortable, right? So if you are at that point where you're maybe making 5, 10, 20K a month, whatever country you're in, it can also change this number for you. But when you're already comfortable, you need to find a bigger why if your environment didn't equip you with one. If you want to actually achieve big things, and if it's something within you that you know that you want, right? Then takeaway number 2 was that your brain doesn't fully develop until 25, so pay extra attention to making decisions in your life if you're young, because you might not be able to make the right decision for the first time, or you might not fully comprehend the weight and the long-term consequence of the action that you are making. So, whenever you're in front of a decision, think of it twice and try to keep this in mind, that or use this frame that what would 30-year-old me do? What decision would he make? Because that's probably going to be a more accurate one and a better one than the one that 19-year-old me makes, right? And then finally, key takeaway number 3 was whenever, something gets boring in your business because you did it so many times and you know it like the palm of your hand, then just outsource it to someone, hire someone to do it. And then this way you can slowly go up the leverage ladder. And whenever, you master this new area of your business, you're bored of it because you did it so much, hire someone, bring someone on, and expand your team and expand your business this way. I thought this would be valuable to share some of these lessons with you guys. I hope you found it interesting. And thank you so much, Alex, again, for giving me that 20 minutes of your time. I really appreciated it. And if you guys don't know Alex yet, check out his channel. He puts out so amazing quality content for free that that alone is gonna make you a ton of money in business and also help you a lot in life, I believe, if you just consume some of his stuff. So if you haven't checked out his channel yet, make sure to do so. He also has an amazing podcast called The Game, which I listen to every week, whether I'm going to the gym or working out, something. I like to listen to his podcast a lot. So yeah, quick recommendation for you guys. Anyways, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one.